Hello everyone, this is Ingrid speaking, and today we will have a discussion in regards to what is known as competence assessment and how to assess by competences in a virtual learning environment, which is also known as VLE, right? So, our guest for today's episode will be Mr. George. So, I just want to know, Mr. George, how are you doing today?
I'm very good. Thanks for asking, and I'm so happy and glad to be here. Thanks for the invitation, Miss Ingrid Aguilera.
I'm really happy to hear that, sir. So, moving on to the main concern, as I just mentioned before, today we will be talking about the assessment in virtual learning environments, right? So I know that you're an expert on this topic, and also you are a colleague because we both are teachers. So we are going to get straight to the point. And the first question that I have right here is, what is understood by competence assessment?
Okay, let me tell you that I think that sometimes people or professionals get frustrated overthinking about what competence assessments are. And a competence assessment is the assessment of someone's capabilities against the requirements of their job. Those requirements are defined in a competency model. To be valuable, competence models should contain only tasks and skills that are critical to success in the role, not every activity they perform in their job. The assessment is performed on those identified tasks or skills for which a rating is selected based upon how they do the task, which defines their proficiency level. In other words, a competency assessment measures how someone does the what task or skill. The individual select proficiency level is then compared with the target level, defining proficiency or skill gaps for each task and skill.
So, for example, it will be like a manager assessment without a self-assessment. Will not provide results since there will be no buy into the results, right? And starting with a self-assessment, how to manage your assessment, and optionally add those from subject matter expert, like what important stuff that we should focus on. So I don't know if by any chance I got the meaning of competence assessment that you just explained before.
That's correct. That's a good example.
Awesome. So the next question to discuss is, by any chance, is there any specific way to assess the competences that I might possess as a teacher?
Actually, no. There are many ways. For example, if you are in a learning talent or effectiveness role, you are capable of eliminating this data void, delivering competence assessment and using them to create a culture of learning such that upskilling and reskilling can happen continuously. Should be part of your job description. Typically, that is ensuring that people have the skills required to their current and future jobs. Without skills assessment data, you have no ability to mitigate skills gap effectively. Once you know who doesn't have the required skills, you can provide personalized learning to close those gaps. Also, you can pair high performers of specific skills with those who have that skill gap to close gaps quickly with task-based mentoring. And your talent acquisition strategy can be more focused, and so you hire those with the skills that organization lacks.
That sounds pretty awesome actually, because it means that we are going to face the situations. We must have to put our skills into practice. So, from my point of view, that is a very good manner of making this way much better, you know?
Right, and according to Rob Lover, change is happening so fast that by the time we upskill or reskill employees, some of those new skills are already obsolete. We are looking at the future where millions of people will constantly have to reinvent their skills. If you want to say you've done a competency assessment so you can check the box, then just do one. But if you want to actually drive capability in your organization, you must create the cycle of assessment, ongoing development, and reassessment only on the tasks and skills you've worked on so that you have a current picture of capability at any time. Plus, you get the benefit of creating a culture of lifelong learning driven by competence assessment that drives real growth in your organization.
That is an even more interesting concept of the way to assess the right competences. And you also mentioned capability, which is something also important since we are going to know someone else's capability of doing something, which in this case is assessing the competences. Am I right?
That's right.
And moving on to the third question, so that would be, how can we assess by competences in VLE, which, as I mentioned before, it is also known as virtual learning environments, right? Nowadays. So you know that actually we are living a global pandemic in which every educational center from primary levels to superior education has been forced to move from face-to-face classes to virtual classes. So remaking my question once again is, how can we assess competences in virtual environments nowadays?
Yes, as you said, it is not going to be the same face-to-face class as a virtual one. The virtuality is something challenging for students and for teachers, and maybe you think that in this way will be so challenging, so hard. But no, we have ways to do it. First of all, we have the summarized and affirmative assessments. There are important things that we as teachers need to know how to apply them into the students. So, affirmative assessments were giving useful instructions and feedback improving their students' outcomes. In other words, assessments delivered along the way leaves the necessary changes to have a better performance from teachers and students. And summative assessments are something different because these are evaluations that are applied at the end of the determined period.
I have to say that is amazing. Now we got the chance to explore all the virtual tools that we have at hand and take advantage of them. So that's pretty awesome. And my last question is, what is an important methodology to evaluate by competences?
Well, actually, it's kind of difficult to make a division because we can use some of the same methodologies that we use in a face-to-face class. But in this case, I will make an emphasis in the self-assessment. And while not to be used alone, self-assessments are a great method for providing individuals with the opportunity to rate themselves against a competence model that is unmeasurable. Self-assessments allow individuals to reflect on their own strengths and weaknesses, while getting a sense of the areas in which they need further development to match the competence model needed for that role. It is important to note that self-assessments use the self-assessments used on their own cannot provide accurate assessment. They must be used in unison with a manager's assessment. This is due to individual bias, where one will either rate him or herself below or above the competence model. There are seldom cases where individuals rate themselves accurately. Also, we have other methods like co-evaluations or role plays. In the role plays, using role plays in simulation exercise reveal a great deal of information regarding the behaviors. The role play may have a little situation described which is given to the participant, and similar information is provided to the observer. However, the observers are provided with certain leading questions which help to elicit the behaviors to be observed. So this is also a good idea for the methodology used in virtual environments.
You are totally right. Having said that, what you just mentioned makes me think of these simulation exercises that are also counted as methodologies to evaluate by competences. And between these simulation exercises are two that I like as a teacher, actually, and I will apply those when I work as a teacher, and that is like the role play, and we have a little situation described which is given to the participant, and similar information is provided to the observer. However, the observers are provided with certain leading questions which help to elicit the behaviors to be observed. And there is also this methodology that I love, which is in this case studies, because by applying this one, the candidate, which is the students, they are required to carefully analyze various relevant aspects of the problems and reach a conclusion in regards to the same with a logical reason, and to support their decision, which is very important because they get the chance to develop a critical thinking, which, as you may know, nowadays is an important thing to be a master on.
That's right, Miss Ingrid. I agree with all that you have said.
And that will be pretty much for today's episode, Mr. George. I just want to thank you the fact that you took some of your time to share this amazing information with us, and also to share your knowledge with the program, because now a lot of people will get to know like the importance of the assessment in the VLE, right? So thank you so much, and also thank you for coming here, and I just hope that you have enjoyed this experience as much as I did. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next in another time, okay? Thank you.
It was a great pleasure for me to be here. Thank you so much once again for the invitation, Miss Ingrid Aguilera.